Connecting with doctors. We're connecting with community experts. We're connecting with you. This is Connect by 3 News.
Hello again, everyone, and welcome into 3 News Connect. Our mission each day at noon, keep you connected to the stories and to the newsmakers related to the coronavirus. With Monica Robbins, I'm Jay Crawford. Monica, hello again.
Hey, Jay, how are you? Of course, we are both coming to you from our homes following those shelter-at-home orders. And as the information about COVID-19 constantly changes, we want to bring you the latest headlines. And here they are. Are we close to a deal? Senate Democratic leader Chuck Schumer says an agreement has been reached on the major elements of a $500 billion aid package for small businesses. A Senate vote could come as early as today. And leaders in Italy, one of the hardest hit countries, say they hope to start reopening on May 4th. But some lockdown measures will still be in place. And here at home, well, we did see a jump of more than 1,000 COVID-19 cases in the last 24 hours. The Department of Health reports there are now more than 12,000 confirmed cases here in Ohio. Jay?
Monica, it came as no surprise yesterday when Governor Mike DeWine announced that school buildings will not reopen this academic year. Grades kindergarten through 12, they've been closed since March 16th because of the pandemic. DeWine cited several factors in this decision, including continuity for teachers, but more importantly, for safety.
Not only do we have to be concerned about the risk to students, but also, obviously, teachers, and ultimately the risk to the community.
Schools will continue to remote learn for the rest of this year. As for the fall, no decisions have been made yet. But when schools do reopen, at some point, the governor says he'll allow district leaders to make the call on social distancing and other guidelines. We talked to Parma Superintendent Charles Smilak, who says he's pleased with DeWine's decision because it gives them time to plan for the fall with a new way of in-person learning and dramatically increasing hand sanitizing stations.
We've been trying to secure supplies, and quite frankly, it's difficult. They're definitely at a premium. Having the summer months to be able to put into place potentially, different up and down staircases, et cetera, different sizes of the hall.
The Lorain City Schools interim CEO echoed those views, saying there could be a mix of in-person and virtual learning when they do go back. But there is nothing set in stone. The classes will resume in person come fall. Sadly, for the class of 2020, this is it. They will go to high school no more. But last night at 8:20, schools all across Northeast Ohio lit up their empty stadiums as a tribute. They did it for 20 minutes and 20 seconds in a show of support for those who lost the rest of their seniors' year. And in Independence, there was also a parade of cars, giving them a chance to come together at a distance. An unforgettable snapshot of our times.
It's something really nice. It's something I'll remember, and it's a nice way to go out, essentially, because we don't have another way to go out.
Words cannot express how much we feel for the class of 2020, and we want to honor as many of you as we can. We want to see your pictures, so parents and grandparents, send us pictures of your high school seniors. You can text them to us. 216-344-3300. Just a small gesture on our part to do our part to help this year's graduating class honored the way they should be. Monica?
Well, a week from Friday is May 1st, the day the state is set to start reopening slowly, and the battle over stay-at-home versus back to work has made Ohio a state divided. Brandon Simmons has more on what has become a very passionate issue and tells us what's next.
May 1st, that's the target date here in Ohio to begin easing the stay-at-home order that's been in place for over a month. And across the country, there's a growing push for states to open sooner than later. Protests from Nevada to Maryland and right here in Ohio. Despite the visual protests by some, a recent poll by NBC News and the Wall Street Journal shows a majority of Americans, 60%, would rather see the stay-at-home orders stay in place to continue the fight against coronavirus.
I've never witnessed anything like this.
Roosevelt Pendleton, self-employed for 57 years, isn't protesting, but he is part of the group that wants to see Ohio's economy get back to normal an association of barbers and cosmetologists.
Well, our money is usually day by day, and from time to time we don't have build-ups at vacation pay, sick leave and all that, so we're directly dependent upon what we do basically day by day.
Instead of protests, the group sent a set of guidelines to state officials showing how they can reopen and still conduct business safely.
We swear on our lives that we will protect ourselves and our customers.
It includes practicing social distancing, only taking customers by appointment, wearing disposable masks and gloves, and sanitizing all equipment between clients. But until the state gives the okay, their futures are in limbo, like many others without pay who have turned to local food banks to make it through the last month. When you're in their shoes, reopening doesn't seem so bad.
I'm ready, and I think a lot of the others are too. We don't want to jeopardize anybody or anything. We want to do it the right way.
Now again, reopening the state will be a gradual process, but there are so many people who are self-employed wondering how long they'll have to wait to reopen, hoping they'll get the go-ahead come May 1st. I'm Brandon Simmons, 3 News.
And one thing that many agree on is that testing, widespread testing, is key to getting the economy going again. But there is a shortage of a component needed to do those COVID tests, and it's called reagent. Governor DeWine called on the FDA for help on Sunday, and the agency responded, saying several companies are trying to make more, and one is close to approval.
The more companies that we can get out there that are providing reagent, so that the supply chain of reagent the hospitals don't have to worry about that supply chain, and that they know that they can run an unlimited number. That's going to make a big difference.
Meanwhile, the state has reapproved 2 independent labs to perform more tests. Now, we just have to wait for a steady supply of reagent to keep all the labs working at capacity. And Rite Aid, the store on State Road in Parma, it's now doing self-swab nasal tests for COVID-19 in its parking lot. And tomorrow, the drugstore will begin testing at its location on South Main Street in Akron. You can only be tested if you meet the CDC guidelines, and you have to pre-register on the company's website. Jay?
Monica, as most events are being postponed or canceled during the stay-at-home order, some people are doing everything they can to make sure that certain memorable moments continue to happen, at least in some form. Will Ewick shares the story of one of those events in Chardon.
Nice to see my friends after a while that we haven't seen each other, and it's nice to have some quality time with my dad.
Third grade is usually a time for learning about the solar system and multiplication tables, and for Munson Elementary girls to have their last father-daughter dance before they head to Chardon Middle School.
So I actually reached out to the teacher who was supposed to be putting on this year's event, and I said, what are your thoughts? She's like, take it over, run with it, however you want to do it.
Don Ulrich knew they should do something to make sure these dads and daughters still had a chance to make this memory, even if it was a little different this year.
And I reached out to a few of the other Munson moms and thought, hey, here's what I'm thinking. What are your thoughts? Everybody thought it was a great idea.
So they decided to still hold the event virtually, with each family pitching in to help with hair, decorating, and making tickets, trying to bring everything that would be at the actual event to each home.
Normally at the event they have like a photo booth where you can do props and things like that, and my older daughter set that up too, so she had a Polaroid kind of camera, and it was really cool.
The girls got a chance to dress up and dance with their daddies. These are the memories that they're going to remember for the rest of their lives during this time period.
It wasn't the same, but that's okay. In fact, this is a dance that will stand out because it was different and provided a bit of joy and normalcy in a strange and uncertain time.
It was very fun, and I will remember this, and he really made it special.
Years down the road, I hope that they can all look back at this and have some fun memories of it.
Will Ewick.
You know, life hands you lemons, you make lemonade.
3 News.
Will, thank you, and thanks to those that took the initiative to take charge and making sure an event like that went on. I can vividly remember our daughter-daddy dances when my daughter Kirsten was in elementary school. We did 2 or 3 of them, and I can honestly say that in talking with Kirsten through the years, that those memories for her burn just as brightly as they do for me. And I'm glad that those memories were able to be made at this Chardon daughter-daddy dance, even though it wasn't the same, still a memory nonetheless. We love seeing stories like that. If you know of them, please share them with us because we want to share them with all of you. Send a photo and a brief description of your story to 216-344-3300. We're trying to tell as many as these uplifting stories during this very difficult time as we can. 3 News Connect, coming right back. President Donald Trump announced yesterday he plans to sign an executive order placing a temporary suspension on all immigration due to coming into the U.S. This is, of course, because of the coronavirus outbreak. In a tweet, President Trump said the suspension was because of an attack from the invisible enemy and a need to protect the jobs of our great American citizens. While many businesses here in Ohio are waiting on orders that they can reopen, South Carolina has already started to ease restrictions. Yesterday, the state's governor issued guidance on which retail stores can open today, plus the strict rules they must follow if they want to stay open. The governor also said some beaches can reopen today, but only if local officials decide that's the best thing to do. We are learning more about the coronavirus impact on the heart. Romney Smith has been looking into this story. She explains why COVID-19 patients have a much higher incidence of cardiovascular issues.
A trip to the hospital could be needed if you have coronavirus symptoms like a fever, shortness of breath, and a cough. But Dr. Mehdi Shishabor, the director of the Cardiovascular Interventional Center at University Hospitals, says there is overlap with signs of a heart attack.
People can have chest pain with both conditions. People can have shortness of breath with both conditions.
Cardiologists think COVID-19 is putting coronavirus patients at a higher risk for heart issues.
Well, we are learning more and more that COVID-19 can actually increase the likelihood of blood clots in the body.
That's what happened to Broadway star Nick Cordero. He thought he had the flu and later learned he has coronavirus. He recently had to have his right leg amputated because of blood clotting.
In his situation, he was so sick that he was also on a heart-lung bypass machine.
As Nick's wife prays for his full recovery, Dr. Shishabor tells me the more patients are diagnosed, the more doctors are learning how much the coronavirus impacts blood clotting in small arteries.
Affecting, let's say, the brain, the kidney, or the heart, as we discussed earlier. Or it can affect the large veins and the arteries in the body for example, causing a pulmonary embolism or causing a blood clot in the leg.
Dr. Shishabor says 10 to 15% of coronavirus patients present with cardiac symptoms and don't have a fever or a cough. If you're concerned about heart health and the coronavirus, you're advised to call your doctor. Romney Smith, 3 News.
Well, we know there are concerns that some have about blood types and coronavirus. The question, does my blood type make me more or less susceptible to the virus? Well, I looked into the claim in this Verify report. Does your blood type matter when it comes to coronavirus? Claims say type A blood is more vulnerable while type O is more resistant. To verify, we turn to a study that those claims originated from, done by the Center for Evidence-Based and Translational Medicine, a group of researchers studying COVID-19 in Wuhan, China. The study observed more than 2,000 people with COVID-19 at 3 different hospitals. Researchers found the amount of type A patients infected and killed by the disease to be significantly higher than those with the same blood type in the general public. Meanwhile, type O patients made up a smaller proportion of those infected and killed by the virus. So based off the study, we can verify type O patients got the virus less. But this is just one study. And to go so far as verifying one blood type is better than the other when it comes to the virus isn't quite enough. So we cannot verify this definitely. And there is a new study looking into whether your fitness tracker could actually hold the early clues of a coronavirus infection. The Cleveland Clinic is working with Whoop, a Boston-based tech company. Whoop has its own fitness tracker and is looking into data to see if wearable devices can help detect infections early. One man said his device showed his respiratory rate changing a few days before he started feeling symptoms. The founder of Whoop says looking for any type of indicators and patterns can be helpful.
And be able to understand, okay, if they first felt symptoms on this date, what does their data look like before that? What does it look like after that?
New Yorker Brian Eisenberg never saw the coronavirus coming, but something he was wearing just might have. A Whoop fitness tracker says it showed his metrics, including his respiratory rate changing a few days before he started feeling those symptoms. We'll be back after this. an effort to deliver more than just people and food. The Financial Times is reporting the company is testing 2 new services. They would transport a range of things from medical supplies to pet food. Uber Direct is for retailers and businesses that want to deliver goods, and Uber Connect will let people send personal items to friends or family. Oil futures dipped below zero on Monday, an unprecedented price drop. The falling price matches the falling demand due to the coronavirus outbreak, and there are fewer drivers hitting the roads and fewer planes are in the sky because of the economic slowdown. But the effects of low prices may have just started in oil-producing states where family-owned businesses may soon feel the impacts.
Now we're just shutting in wells. I mean, doing whatever we can to just reduce production to the minimum degree we can. Like textbook, situation where you have a huge supply increase and then just demand got shut down.
Globally, oil producers are already cutting back production. OPEC announced output would be cut by 10 million barrels per day. Jay?
Monica, while the oil industry is taking a beating, another industry is hurting as well, and that's the airline industry because of COVID-19. United Airlines has announced it lost $2 billion in the first quarter of 2020. The airline says the loss came as the pandemic drove travel demand to the lowest level in decades. United has applied for up to $4.5 billion in government loans, on top of about $5 billion in federal payroll grants. United is the first major U.S. airline to detail the results of the virus on its first 3 months of the year. Well, was your vacation canceled? Millions of Americans had to cancel their travel plans, and now they're wondering what recourse do they have when it comes to getting refunds or even vouchers for future trips that were postponed due to COVID-19. NBC's Dan Scheneman has the details.
Anyone planning their next getaway while sheltering in place needs to study the rules about refunds.
The DOT has been clear that flights canceled due to coronavirus, the airlines owe consumers a refund.
But if the traveler cancels, a refund may not be an option.
If you've booked a flight and you're just canceling sort of out of nervousness or because you think, okay, June just isn't on the table right now, they are not required to give you a refund for that.
Refunds are also available from hotels, but it may rely on the booking.
I would book refundable. We've seen the hotel industry really come to the table with very consumer-friendly policies to help make sure that people are made whole.
As for cruise lines that cancel trips, many offer customers a chance to rebook, with 125% of the original fare going toward another trip, or refunds are usually available within 90 days. But if travelers have trouble collecting any refund,
and consumers just really need to remember, I am entitled to this, and they should ask for it.
In other words, be patient but persistent. Dan Scheneman, NBC News.
Dan, thanks. Still to come on 3 News Connect, NASA plans its next launch. It's the first launch of its kind since the space shuttle program ended, and it's making big changes to the way the public can watch.
News Connect. Here are 3 coronavirus headlines that have you talking. New York City is canceling all major public events for the month of June. City hospitalizations and deaths are declining, but the mayor says the city can't ease stay-at-home restrictions until extensive daily testing can be worked out. Today is Queen Elizabeth's 94th birthday, but she has canceled all of her celebrations because Britain is in the 4th week of a national lockdown. And Oktoberfest in Munich, Germany has been canceled as well. The event typically draws about 6 million visitors every year. These headlines and much more, check them out over at WKYC.com and on our app. And if you'd like something to do tonight, well, the Lyrid meteor shower is happening. It's the first major meteor shower since January, and it's supposed to happen tonight into early Wednesday morning. The meteor shower sometimes bombards the sky with up to nearly 100 meteors per hour, and this year, the skinny, almost new moon shouldn't block your view, but the clouds, Jay, may. Let's hope they take their time coming in.
It seems like the clouds always block my view of these beautiful heavenly displays. NASA is on track to make history again in May, but this upcoming space shuttle launch will look different than we have seen in the past because of COVID-19. We're connecting the dots for you.
Buried in an avalanche of coronavirus news, a major announcement from NASA. Let's connect the dots. NASA Administrator Jim Bridenstine says astronauts will be headed back into space atop a rocket built right here in America, launched from U.S. soil. The SpaceX rocket carrying a Dragon Crew capsule will take off from the Kennedy Space Center on May 27th on a mission to the ISS. The International Space Station program is one of the few NASA initiatives that's maintained full operations throughout the pandemic. This will be another milestone, the first launch of its kind since the Space Shuttle program ended in 2011. The mission, called Demo 2, will be the final proof NASA needs to bring missions back to U.S. soil. But it'll look a little different. NASA won't welcome crowds to watch along Florida's Space Coast, and there will only be a limited number of reporters on hand due to social distancing guidelines. The ISS has hosted a crew from around the world continuously since the year 2000. And while this latest launch will include some changes, COVID-19 won't stop us from making history. Connecting the dots, I'm Stephanie Whitfield.
Thanks, everyone, for joining us. We'll see you again at noon tomorrow.
See you at